2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Yeah. 30 seconds till broadcast. Five, four, three, two, one. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Is it that time already? It is the Voice of Reason. Welcome into it. We are broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation on the flagship station of the Big Talker KQAM out of Wichita, Kansas, all over the country, whether you're listening radio, TV, live streaming, online on the Podbean live stream. Also, as the video stream we have on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn, on the website at HoosierReason.com. Welcome into it. It's great to have you today. Midway through the week, you finally made it. You can pat yourself on the back for that one. Yeah, we have so much to get to today. So there is a couple of Supreme Court cases. They're coming out left and right, left and right, left and right. I don't know what the deal is. Apparently they hear all these cases, then they just release all of the decisions and opinions all at the same time, which is a little strange, but why not, I guess? And we have some wins, we have some losses. John Roberts is still being kind of strange. So we'll get to some of those here in just a minute. We also have progressives upset with Joe Biden because he may be compromising with Republicans. Oh, my. He could be the moderate that could compromise against the progressive. I told you since the very beginning that he is going to be the fluff candidate to try and win over some of the crowd if he gets it. Now, I don't even think he's going to get in there, but if he does, that he's going to be the fluff candidate where the Democrats are going to choose his nominee, his running mate, and then they're going to say, well, you're not fit to be president. You have dementia. You're not doing well. You can't speak. You have to write your speeches on your arm with magic marker. That's a joke, by the way. Like that. And then they would remove him from office and then make their candidate that they choose for him to be the actual candidate. And it's going to be a far left progressive individual because that's what they wanted this time, and they didn't get it. So we'll see how that goes, but now they're upset because Joe Biden may compromise with Republicans. We'll get to all that here in a little bit. And there's some other issues that I really, really want to talk about, one of them being the Electoral College and the decision that the Supreme Court came down with just a few days ago that I think is extremely important. So we'll do that here, if not today, in the next couple of days, so stay tuned in for that. But we have a great guest today, and I'm really excited to chat with her. We actually talked with her on our local program here on the KQAM airwaves on Saturdays on Kansas Talk. talking about some of the trade going on internationally and globally, some of the businesses that are being impacted by the COVID-19 shutdowns, and how trade is actually doing nationally and internationally when it comes to the virus and how businesses are trying to adapt. So she's with us, and I want to get to her in a second. But to kind of introduce that topic, I saw a story that was floating around social media at the end of quarter number 1 for 2020. Because of the virus and because of the hit. Now, remember, the virus didn't hit until like end of February or March. So we only really had a month, maybe month and a half of the first quarter of the year being impacted by the virus economically. But because of that, still, the end of the first quarter, we saw major GDP hits in states all over the country. Washington was down 5% by GDP. Kansas was down 3%. Ohio down 5.5%. New York's down 8.2%. Nevada down 8.2%. North Carolina down 5%. There were major hits all over the place just by a month. So I'm really curious at the end of quarter number 2 what it's going to look like as business, small business and large business took a major hit. Now remember, 99% of business in the nation is small business, which they consider, what is it, like 500 employees or less, being considered a small business. And that's the vast majority of this nation. So if we see that much of a hit, then what's quarter number 2 going to look like when the majority of the second quarter of the year was completely MIA? We didn't even begin to open up most of the country until, mid-June? So most of the quarter was done. So what's that going to look like? And if business is still struggling, what can you do to adapt and be able to grow and kind of move forward from that? And I think that our next guest can kind of talk about some tips and tricks along with kind of the layout of the economy and business and trading right now and how things can actually be. I'm so excited to have her on the program. She is the president and CEO of Kansas Global Trade Services. You can find them at kansasglobal.org. But Karyn Page is hanging out with us today. Karyn, how are you today?
I'm good, Andy. How are you?
I am doing great. I really appreciate you coming on the show with us for this program. There's so much important information to get out right now. And to me, it breaks my heart to see a GDP growth or lack of growth for a first quarter take that much of a hit when I don't think it even affected that much of the quarter because most people didn't start to shut down till early to mid-March at the end of the first quarter. And if we see that kind of GDP hit in the first quarter, what do you think the second quarter is going to look like? Is it going to look pretty bad?
Andy, I absolutely agree with you. It's heartbreaking. And, we're not seeing, the overall results of those numbers yet, but I did hear a couple of tidbits on the news today. One being that, our balance of trade has actually not improved, as has been the intent of the different changes in trade policy, but because we're selling so much less, that the balance of trade has actually it's a worse position than it's been in a long time. So, and I know the reason is we're not importing as much, so there's that. But because we're exporting so much less, it's really taken a hit. It's about 10% worse than it was year over year. So I think that's a good indication of our heartbreak is going to show up in the economy. I also heard a statistic from the World Economic Forum. They're, reran the numbers, and they're looking at a 5% global GDP drop.
Wow.
Because of effects of coronavirus. And you know what we do every day is we work with companies in the heartland in the Midwest primarily, and mostly small businesses. But as you said in your intro, that's 500 employees or less. Most of the folks we work with have 100 people or 50 people or 150 people, so really small businesses. And as we're working with them every day, we can feel that anecdotal, information, those stories where they're having to lay off people or they're having to make permanent layoffs or they're just concerned for their future. And these are real people that we're talking to that make a difference, not only, in their company, but in their community, in that neighborhood, wherever they are. And it truly is heartbreaking. The thing is that, with the coronavirus, we're all in the same, boat in terms of challenges, and it is very challenging for businesses. I think one of the most difficult things is that it's obviously a human challenge we're having. This is affecting lives, but there's so much uncertainty as well. And I know you and I both know that uncertainty always has a negative impact on the economy. So until we get more certainty, whether it's we get comfortable, I don't know how we do that, but comfortable with dealing with this, this new reality, or whether we have some, decisions that are made or a vaccine or whatever it is. But until we can add more certainty, I think businesses are still going to feel quite trepidatious in their current and future actions.
Sure.
And just to give a little bit more detail on that, an example is some companies had planned to make investments, in a technology improvement or capital equipment or whatever it was, looking at a new market. But we're continuously hearing that they're still sitting on that. So even if they do have the cash, because there's so much uncertainty, they're not moving. They're really hunkered down for the most part in the companies that we work with and engage with.
Sure. Well, I know you work with a lot of different aviation companies, which that's a huge thing here in the Mid-America region and in the Wichita area specifically. But so it may be a little bit different from some other industries. But when it comes to adapting to something like this, first off, I don't know how long this is going to last. I don't know if they always say it's the quote unquote new norm, which drives me nuts because I don't think it's going to be a new norm. I think we're going to rebound pretty quickly once we kind of adjust a little bit and get it under bay. Then we can go back to what we were. But especially with aviation's taken such a hit. I mean, we talk about the number of flights going in and out of different cities, and it's like 20-30% of what it used to be this time last year or the last couple of years on average, which is really sad for the aviation industry. And people that work in the aviation industry have definitely taken a hit as well. So when they talk about new products or talking about exports or talking about just building things, I mean, how have people been able to survive? I mean, because it sounds like everything's on hold right now, isn't it?
From our perspective, almost everything is on hold, and there's a couple of exceptions. I think that when we're looking at our own work in terms, view it as our job is to guide, to champion, to cheerlead, to really encourage the companies either through knowledge or answering questions or even providing them an opportunity. So our job internally then is to hunt opportunities, and so we start by saying, who's buying what? Real, it's not rocket science that we do over at Kansas Global. And one of the exception areas is that services or anything related to tech. So as everyone, at least in a temporary way, has looked at how do we work remotely from our homes. There's a lot of demand around technology that aids that. And the other thing that we're seeing is in certain areas of construction, there's still really great opportunities. I was just talking to one of our strategic partners earlier today and having the same conversation, like, what are you guys seeing? How long do you think it's going to last? Who's moving, who's not moving, in terms of economic activity. And we kind of came to the same really quite sad conclusion that everyone's really hunkered down. It's almost like I was thinking when I had that conversation earlier, like, is it possible to look at what you do to get a turtle out of their shell, and can we somehow apply that to helping businesses? I mean, look how crazy I've got, like trying to think about, zoology to see if I can help our companies. But aviation, and this is part of the conversation from earlier as well, pretty much our answer is if we're asked what industries are, experiencing demand or have opportunities, it's kind of not aviation unless it's defense related. So unfortunately for a lot of our clients in the Wichita, Kansas and Kansas area, aviation is really suffering. We began the year really with a continued challenge under the Boeing 737 MAX grounding. Wichita builds a ton of those airplanes, or did build a ton of those airplanes, and so we entered the year that way. I remember distinctly one of my staff members and I on January 3rd, so that was the first Monday we went back to work at the beginning of the year, we were nearly in tears as we made contact with companies that week because everyone was telling us about layoffs and furloughs and that sort of thing that week. And then Here comes the impact of the coronavirus, and so then you have people who are not flying. So the deal is, if people are not flying, then people aren't buying airplanes. And if people aren't buying airplanes, we don't need to build as many. And so it's a double whammy for the folks in the aviation industry. It's quite challenging. But there are opportunities out there, and I just saw an announcement from Textron Aviation that's headquartered here in Wichita that they were announcing a deal of selling some modified general aviation aircraft to a foreign government entity for training purposes in their local military. So that's that's good. But again, those are government contracts and defense. So we're seeing some movement there.
Wow. It's crazy. It is really sad. And like you mentioned, I mean, the trickle down really impacts everybody all the way down to the manufacturers and the builders of just the basic parts of the airplanes. We got to take a break here in just a minute. We're talking with Karyn Page, president of the Kansas Global Trade Services. When we come back, you mentioned the technology, and we saw in the stock market today that Apple hit a record high, that we've seen Amazon, Netflix, all these different technology companies really being the ones to raise the stock market and keep the stock market going. So I want to talk about technology and what we can use and even businesses can utilize in a time like this. It's the Voice of Reason. We got lots to get to today. It's going to be a fun show. Don't go anywhere. Stay right here.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HoosierReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HoosierReason.com. Again, HoosierReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HoosierReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HoosierReason.com. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hoosier Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HoosierReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe to any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com.
For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hoosier Media Network, visit us on the website at HoosierReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hoosier Media Network. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Yes, you are. Welcome in. Cramming 10 pounds of reason into a 5-pound bag, trying to rebrand the millennial generation, one radio listener at a time. We're all over the country on radio, TV, live streaming, which, by the way, so yesterday we had an issue where social media is trying to suppress. I swear it, they're trying to silence it because, you know, it's a conservative thing. I know. So I got a message from a listener yesterday that said, hey, it didn't notify me that you were on live on Facebook because we do the Facebook live stream. When it usually pops up, it says, ding, you know, hey, Andy Hoosier's live or the Voice of Reason's live. And he said, I had to go out and find your show and find it because it didn't notify me that you were live. And I said, well, that's a little weird. But it happened apparently again today, which is why the last couple of days, the number of followers and viewers on there have been a little bit lower than what they usually had been. Because it's not notifying anybody. Because I think last week we had some really good numbers, and now they're like, oh, we're on the radar now, which is good and bad. So now they're going to try and suppress it. So if you're on there, whichever site it may be, YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or anything, just go on there, like it, say hi, call me a jerk, I don't care. But share it onto your own page so that way people can actually see it, because it's apparently not going to notify you when we're actually on there. Weird. Anyways, you can go to HoosierReason.com as well. That way no one can try and get rid of it because it's our own website. We have the live stream up there as well. We have the podcast, which means you can download it, listen to any of the shows with any of the great guests that we have on the program, like today where we have the Kansas Global Trade Services talking about trade and business and the COVID-19 issue. Karyn Page is with us. And Karyn, you mentioned in the last segment about some of the technology, and I've been watching the stock market, and tech has been huge. Obviously, people staying at home, so all the online TV stuff, the Apple TV and Netflix and that sort of thing's been really big in the stock market. Apple just hit a new record. Amazon just hit the highest dollar value for its shares recently, I think. So the tech industry has been really, really good. Is this the opportunity many businesses are looking towards to try and utilize in some way, shape, or form to either communicate or to sell their products or to get their information out, since they really can't do it in person right now?
Yeah, Andy, I think that at the very least that all companies going to operations should be looking at how they can improve their communications through technology. Kansas Global is a small consulting firm, and even prior to coronavirus, we had the technology that's affordable for a small business that allows you to communicate, virtually. And we've been using that for a number of years. So I think that, one of the things that we get hung up on sometimes just as human beings is, we need to change and move that direction. Probably could improve our tech usage and our tech knowledge, and we have to incorporate that into our current business model. And it's maybe really expensive. But if I could say anything to you and your listeners is that, there are affordable ways to communicate. And we are a contributor to some of those numbers. I'm talking to you on my iPhone now, and I'm using my screen to look up information as we talk on my MacBook. So, and if I didn't have those tools, I would certainly be in a much different position, not really able to do my job from home. So I think there's some simple things that you can do. I want to mention one of our longtime clients who was born in Wichita, and it's as an example of, it's not just the big guys that you'd mentioned or that I've talked about so far, but it's the ancillary and enhancing kind of technology that can be really a boon of opportunities for companies. And a company that in Wichita that I'm thinking of is Quick, and that's QUICC, and CC as in closed captions. So these guys develop technology right here in Wichita, Kansas, that allows a subscriber to utilize their algorithm platform to automatically capture closed captioning text in videos, and then you can post those videos online. So it's really quick, seamless. It used to take if you're going to translate closed caption for a video that was maybe 30 to 45 minutes long.
Yeah, Karyn, hold that thought real quick. That's really fascinating. Let's talk about more of that when we come back, because I think a lot of not only businesses but individuals can use services like that. So let's talk about some of that when we come back. It's the Voice of Reason, Karyn Page, Kansas Global Trade Services. We got lots more to get to here on the show. Stay tuned.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of the Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hoosier Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hoosier Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HoosierReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hoosier Media Network is way more than just the Voice of Reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast, Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book, Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hoosier Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosierholic by going to HoosierReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com. Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason, and I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hoosier Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices.
From iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn, make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hoosier Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
So I've been looking at some of the stats, and apparently everybody that got to hear the infomercial we did, the satire infomercial, the Antifa rebel call, has been very popular with the downloads on the website. If you want to listen to it or if you want to download it for your audio pleasure, you can go to HoosierReason.com. And you can download that. If you go to the special features segment on the website, you can also see the stream. Although I have to apologize, I have not updated the survey that's on there. If you go to the homepage, and there's usually a survey, and I haven't updated that in a while, so I will get that to that. But if you go to the special features tab, then you can go and you can see all of our different infomercials, our satire bits that we create, and you can listen to that. The latest one, the Antifa Rebel Call. So far, that's been the most popular one. Let me know your thoughts on which one's your favorite. We'll start playing some of those. And I have another one that's in the works. It's not produced yet, but we'll get to that here in just a few days. Maybe by the end of this week. I don't know. Maybe the end of this week. By the way, real quickly as well, a little tease of what's coming up on Friday. We're going to be speaking with Newt Gingrich, the former Speaker of the House, and with his new book that's coming out. We'll talk to him about the latest and greatest when it comes to Washington, D.C. politics, the election, Donald Trump, the COVID, all that good jazz. So Newt Gingrich will be joining us on Friday. You're not going to want to miss that show. Today, though, we're talking about technology. We're talking about business. We're talking about trade and ways that we can try to adapt during this whole COVID shutdown that I don't think we should have had, but we did. So now we need to adapt. Is it the new norm or is it just a temporary thing? It doesn't matter. Regardless, businesses need to adapt now on how to actually survive, or else, like many others, are going to have to be shutting doors. Now, Karyn Page, the Kansas Global Trade Services president and CEO, you were talking about one of your clients that you have, Quick, that talks about some of the video and closed captions. Talk about what they do again, and how can we utilize this kind of product?
So, Andy, thanks for letting me finish that thought. So Quick is a local Wichita company, a tech company that was born here. And I think what's important, and the reason I mentioned them, is it's something anyone can use, right? They built this technology so that he tells me even I can use it, which is saying something. I'm not the most tech-savvy person. But the point is that his exports have increased substantially to your previous remarks about, kind of who's propping up the stock market now. It's those tech companies. Well, you don't have to be a great big global giant to take advantage of this. This is a startup company. It's still a handful of employees, and they're doing really gangbusters, including increasing their exports. So what you do is you subscribe to Quick. You have like a monthly fee, and you're able to, I think, upload your video, and it automatically gives the closed captioning on your videos so that when you play it, you can have the text right there. Great company, great people right here from Wichita. So proud of them.
How neat. And people can use that really for their own personal thing or for whatever they're working on, which is, and with people trying to do the online streaming, trying to do more video, trying to do more online usage, I mean, this is a perfect way to kind of get your message out and still have those closed captions. That's really neat. I've never seen or heard of a way that we can actually do that in a easy format, I guess.
Well, you should talk to the guys that started that. They're just fantastic. They do a lot of online social media as well. So I'll have to connect you after we're finished with our conversation today. I'll make sure I send you an intro by email so you can talk to those guys. They're just fantastic. I love them. And it really, that is a tool that, economical. It's accessible for any of us and for small businesses, and it can help us increase our online presence, which is going to increase those opportunities. So if we can increase that online presence, that's going to make us appear a little bit bigger, but it certainly give us a bigger audience. And so any tools that we can use to that effect, I think, are really important right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's really the way that a lot of individuals need to go. And we've talked about this before, but stuff like trade shows or just meetings one-on-one. I mean, everybody's starting to do the virtual stuff. I know stocks for even Zoom and different online conference calling, Skype, that sort of thing, that's gone up as well. But just trade shows. I know here in Kansas, at least, there's been a couple farm shows that have tried to happen, but nationwide, most of that stuff has been shut down with trade shows or with ag shows or with tech shows or anything else, just because people don't want to be in large crowds right now with the virus. And I think that we should still find a way to do like holograms or something to where you can actually have different products or different stuff being shown to you, which I know is in the works. And someday down the road, that'll happen. But are there other options? Are there other things that people can do if they usually go to a trade show or usually display or release their new products with stuff like that? Is there new and unique ways they can at least get that information out there?
Yeah, one of the things I want to mention is that the U.S. government, the export.gov, so your viewers or your listeners can find it on export.gov, they're actually doing a lot of virtual opportunities. So often the U.S. Department of Commerce International Trade Administration is a sponsor of a lot of the global trade shows. So we don't have the global trade shows going on either, Andy. So that means that our U.S. companies are having difficulty in those platforms they used to rely on. So U.S. Department of Commerce Export Administration is doing a lot of opportunities for virtual work where they have a quote-unquote virtual trade shows. So and everyone's trying to figure it out, like how to make it work best. But another friend of ours actually has some AR, VR, so augmented reality, virtual reality. There is a system that uses like those virtual reality glasses. And what they're doing is they started out looking at food security with they started out with World Bank, but they're actually now, I talked to one of the owners recently, and they're actually looking at using those to do like live conferences. So they ship out these glasses to all the conference participants, and they have them for the presenters as well, and they are in their homes or in their offices, wherever they're located, and they're still experiencing it more live. So that's pretty far out there in my humble opinion. Wow. In terms of like what we can do with technology, but it's totally accessible right now. This is not some multi-million or even problem to solve. This is hundreds of dollars, and you can make something like that happen. So that's pretty cool how we can use technology to try and solve this challenge that we're having at working in person.
How cool. I love it. I mean, it never really compensates for the whole face-to-face physical thing because, I mean, we're creatures of that sort. Humans just like to gather together and actually go en masse and actually be face-to-face with each other. But if we're going to have to be apart, that's a really, really cool way that I didn't even know was possible now. I was thinking like, oh, this is like Back to the Future 50 years, 100 years from now kind of thing. So the fact that we're doing it right now is really neat.
It definitely is here. And, just thinking about, I mean, I agree with you. I miss being in person. You and I are doing this via phone right now, which is perfectly fine, but it'd be so much more fun if I could see you, right?
Right.
And be in the studio with you. And hopefully next time we do it, we will. But you think about back to the small businesses, right? Think about how we can use technology, even when we can get back together in person, what an economical solution that is for them. So if they can incorporate some of these solutions that they're finding now into their business going forward, then maybe we have a chance to reinvent ourselves so that we become more relevant using technology, using different tools, so we can make our presence bigger, so we have more opportunities. So this is one of the things that I keep asking myself is, what if this terrible, challenge that we're all facing on the other side of this, with some of these, an improvement in our lives and our businesses.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. We got just a couple minutes left. Let's talk about trade globally right now and give us kind of a recap of how it's been impacted. Has trade gone down, not just in aviation per se, but just in general trade globally with trade with different countries? Have they locked things down and not even allowed a lot of different companies or different products to come in or out of the countries because of the virus, or is trade globally still relatively okay right now?
So the answer is trade is down throughout the world. And it's really the impact of the coronavirus in terms of demand. So what's happening is because of all the the shutdown or lockdown orders across the world, there's just not as much demand for product. There's also some challenges in supply chain. So even if you're still if you're an essential business, for example, you may be having trouble getting the parts because the shippers aren't in there, and that's all starting to come back. I'm just looking at some data online here from the U.S. government Bureau of Economic Analysis. They keep track of all these details. And for the month of, let's see, it looks like June, we're looking at May, June data. Exports were down about 4.5%. Imports were down about 1%. So the trade deficit increased about 10% total. But it's coming back from the previous month. So there's some hope there, right? So it's looking like it's going in the right direction. And then real quickly, I'll just mention, I think that, our administration, with President Trump leading that, we're seeing a lot of great activity on trade. So just today, joint statement announced by Trade Ambassador Lighthizer with the Kenyan secretary, his counterpart, talking about the beginning of negotiations with a free trade agreement with Kenya. And that would be a great addition and provide another tool for U.S. businesses and small businesses take advantage of. And just a few days ago, we had, the USMCA came into being. So those are great opportunities for companies, I think, to use today and to look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. We got about 45 seconds left, but trade with China, now that we've had the issues with them with the virus and then the butting up with the tariffs that President Trump's put on place there, have we seen an impact there, and are companies beginning to diversify a little bit because they're concerned about the continuous relationship that we have with China?
Yeah, definitely. The supply chains for U.S. manufacturers have definitely been impacted, and they are taking measures to secure those supply chains. A lot of people are moving from China to maybe another Southeast Asian country that is less contentious relationship, but we're also seeing people move closer to home or move their operations back to the United States.
Wow. Well, that would be nice too. I guess it is nice to bring it back to the home front after many of them actually left, and that would create more jobs here, which means the economy is going to get back a lot quicker than it normally was anyway. So that's good news, I guess. Karyn Page, Candace Global Trade Services, CandaceGlobal.org. We really appreciate the time. We got to get you back on the program again because this is really fascinating stuff. So we thank you for that. We'll do it again here real soon.
Thanks, Andy. I loved it. Thanks for all the good work you're doing and getting information out. We really appreciate you.
Hey, well, I appreciate it, and we'll continue to do this again here real soon. We got to take a break, wrap up the show. We got one more segment. When we come back, we'll get your thoughts on all this, plus some of the latest headlines that we haven't gotten to, but I think a lot of people like the fact that we go deeper into an issue and avoid some of the crazy mainstream media stories. So we'll do some of that when we come back here, wrapping up a Wednesday here on The Voice of Reason. Don't go anywhere.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hoosier Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hoosier Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HoosierReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station.
We're here for you.
Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the voice of reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HoosierReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HoosierReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. And I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hoosier Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosierholic by going to HoosierReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HoosierReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hoosierholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, welcome into the Voice of Reason. Last segment already on a Wednesday evening. Great to have you along for the ride today. No matter where you may be, radio, TV, online streaming, the Podbean live stream, doesn't matter. We're all over the place, which means you can find us all over the place. And if you don't, then what the heck's wrong with you, man? Thanks again to Karyn Page, the Kansas Global Trade Services. Great information, especially when it comes to trade. Not just like a political standpoint of, oh, this is what trade's doing, but like real. This is what the businesses are up to. This is what we're doing to help businesses get out there. This is what businesses are doing to help adapt and be able to evolve in this crazy time that is COVID-19 and the pandemic. Oh, did I say that? I'm sorry. Didn't mean to say that. right? So thanks again. We'll get her back on the program as we continue to see the economy in the markets and the businesses begin to evolve and be able to do some more changes. It's really cool to see how technology works. And I'm glad that people enjoy the different conversations we have here, where we don't usually talk about just the headlines that are going on right now in the mainstream media, because it's mostly lies and it's crap. For example, we have an economic impact where most states in the first quarter of the year had anywhere between a 3 to 10% GDP hit when the virus didn't even take effect till like late February, early March. And people didn't even shut down till like early to mid-March, which means you had the majority of the quarter to do business. And we still saw that. So what's the second quarter going to look like when everything was shut down for most of it? We didn't even begin to reopen up until like mid to late June. What's it going to look like? That's a story. Spending $3 trillion at the federal level on a recovery and then trying to say the economy is going to be great because we just went well above what we're actually bringing in. We bring in anywhere from $18 to $22 trillion a year. We're spending 27 as a debt. That's crazy. That's crazy. The fact that we pay interest at like 15% of our gross income and our gross GDP, 15% of it goes towards interest on the debts that we have. That's a story. But what do we see? According to Yahoo News, the headline, U.S. Supreme Court to rule Trump finance cases on whether the U.S. Supreme Court is set to rule tomorrow on whether President Trump needs to release his tax forms, his tax report as president, because he has presidential immunity, but he promised to do so back in the 2016 election, but he was getting audited, so he wasn't able to release them because it was an audit, and people criticized him. That's still a story, apparently. We're 4 years into his administration, and they're talking about his tax returns.
Oh, my God. Who the hell cares?
Kind of the way I feel right now. That's so 2016. We've had, like, viruses, and we've had an economy. It took a complete disaster of an economy to crash to get to the high point of Barack Obama, and they're worried about his tax return. They're worried about what his niece or his aunt or whatever, his cousin, whoever it was that wrote a book trying to slander him. That's the headline, not the fact that we have a crisis going on right now with civil unrest, or the fact that law enforcement's getting dismantled in larger cities over the nation, or the fact that we have a $3 trillion spending package and more coming for a recovery, or the fact that people are getting restless because of a virus. And it goes on and on and on. No, the headline is we need to worry about his tax return. Or the fact that Democrats are very upset that Joe Biden may have to compromise with Republicans. That's a story, let me tell you. The fact that Joe Biden, now, there's ways that we can go with that, and I want to talk about that tomorrow. Also tomorrow, I want to talk about the Electoral College and the Supreme Court decision that came out for that as well, because those are big stories. That's actually news. And we'll get to that, and we'll go a little bit deeper into that as well. So stay tuned in the next couple of days, because you're not going to want to miss those shows, as it's going to be really cool, because that's what we need to focus on. We have an election that could be all mail-in ballots. And Electoral College votes could be swinging towards popular votes as opposed to what they're supposed to be voting for. That's news right there, baby. That's what we need to talk about. So I hope you like the little bit deeper, somewhat, at least we try to be intellectual to some degree when it comes to some of these talks, and we appreciate that very much. Also, by the way, go to HoosierReason.com, as we have some of the fun stuff, as we do keep it somewhat lighthearted to some degree. You can go there and check out some of the infomercials. Again, the big one, the Antifa Rebel Call. We may have to play that again, but we've only played it once and people enjoyed it. And as we talk about serious issues, Antifa, baby, they're a serious, serious group we need to pay attention to.
It is totally absurd.
Yeah. Or they're not.
You are fake news.
Who knows? Anyways, it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. You are your own voice of reason. I'm just here to be that catalyst to make you get up and get off the couch and go do it, baby, because we need to knock on the doors, talk to people, and get them excited about the 2020 election, and to be able to remember what conservatism and constitutionalism is all about. Until then, it's a Wednesday evening. Everybody have a great evening. See ya. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HoosierReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HoosierReason.com. Again, HoosierReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.